Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Fire Up. Round two of our doubleheader began with an impressive episode of Pundit Spundit. We always keep our shows probably over an hour because there's so many opinions that you couldn't go out there and hit ping pong balls against the wall fast enough the way they were bouncing these opinions. But it was a great show. Joined my colleagues, Jacob Christer and Denzel Snipes. These guys are great. But now I'll tell you what. We have another foursome here and a really good one. It's called our Thursday night foursome. Ralph Williams is back in the house after a week off, although the show was in good hands when we brought Tomherman on last week. Ralph, welcome back.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Of course, Jeremy Ballrick.
Had a great time last week.
Well, I'm glad you did.
No, I was at the Ryan Shazier fundraiser last week. That's where I was at. I got to meet Ryan for a second time, and it was sponsored by one of my sponsors for all my shows, Draft 412.
Yeah, which is actually, we work well with them on Saturday's show. And I should mention this
right.
before I turn over to Jeremy. Is Draft, our show there was at the Eternal Bum podcast.
External Bum, yeah.
Oh, I knew it was a bum extra. Whatever it is, what it is.
Bums in sports.
And I know it's a heck of a show. And the timing from 9:30 to 10 is really good. So that's fine. 30-minute show goes faster than I can talk. I don't know. It doesn't, probably cares. Let you be the judge. Just go out there and do that. Yeah, we got Denzel Snipes.
Uncle Scotty and Uncle George.
Yeah, we got, what do we have? Patty Grind. We got uncles in the broadcasting business. I'm not going to get into the sound over there, George. We know it all too well.
What's up, Patty?
And of course, we got Smoking Jeremy, a regular on this podcast. I'll tell you, this guy's a very busy man. We keep him busy at the Tribune, and he gets around. He's going to be working on some new endeavors to complement the old ones. And I'm counting on Jeremy Ballrick before he has an opportunity to really say something, is to be a real big player on Fire Up Wisconsin. That's a show that I really am counting on him to do. And more importantly, he's outstanding a professor in the pupil. So he does a good job. So, all right, Jeremy, take it away.
So are we going to be talking a lot about cheese? No, just kidding.
You know what they call it in the broadcasting business, Jeremy?
Yeah, I believe so. Diversity.
Well, no, we call it TBD, to be determined.
Oh.
Okay, I see that. That's where you got a lot to learn, Ballrick. It does. Okay, all right. All right, back to Denzel Snipes. We got to keep this chest.
Ballrick, we got it. 1 Adam 12, downtown Michigan, respond code 3. I don't want
it. There you go. And last but not least, my tag team partner for the better part of 43 years, George, General Electric Icorn.
Oh, I'm back. Round two.
There you go, round two. All right, well, got some great topics, couple parting shots. Let's get to it right away. All right, question number one. I'm going to go right to left in terms of how we move this bad boy along. And Ralph Williams, you are on the clock. Okay, will Baker Mayfield take advantage of his fresh start in Tampa Bay?
I think Baker Mayfield's got a new team, a new atmosphere, a new offensive coordinator. And I think Baker Mayfield's going to take the ball and he's going to run with it. And I think he's going to do a pretty decent job for Tampa Bay. If he doesn't, you have Kyletrask right there.
Okay. Well, I got to go to the chat room before Jeremy's going to have to wait another few seconds. All right, George. Apparently he liked the way you went ahead.
Super George up again.
It sounds like, you know what it sounds like, George? Here's what this has got written all over it. You struck a chord with these guys tonight, man. You really, really did. The normal mellow George Icorn all of a sudden got ramped up. And it took MLS soccer to wake him out and get him fired up there. Okay. Fire super up George again. Look at this. George, I have a feeling that Denzel Snipes is trying to give you some tips how to handle on Pundit Spundit. And I know
I am looking for a president of my fan club. I don't know if Denzel's available.
You never know. I might. All right, Jeremy, take a stab at Baker Mayfield.
The only thing I worry about, the reason why he had success with the Rams in those 5 games that he was able to start when they signed him, is that Todd McVay's system is very close to that Shanahan system that they run in Cleveland that he left. Is he going to be able to take that grasp, or is he going to look like he did in the first few practices that I watched on YouTube, where they were doing the music in the background while him and Kyletrask threw at the ground instead of the receivers?
Okay. All right, George. Oh, by the way, before I go to George, Mayfield goes through more coaches, and I almost beginning to wonder what that means.
Sports. Mayfield goes through more coaches than most people go through underwear in a week.
There you go. Anybody else? Anybody else want to fill in? All right. Anybody else want to fill in the blank? You got a better one than that, Ralph?
Well, no, I mean, he does go through a lot of coaches. He's been through on some teams, but we'll see what happens. This new offensive coordinator for Tampa that has come from Seattle is good at working with quarterbacks, and we're going to find out if his running the football system is going to work. They have to run the football this year in order to succeed. And I think if he just manages the game, I think he'll be a decent quarterback.
George, you want to answer that question? I'm staying away from that.
Well, let's be honest here. It's not all Mayfield's fault. They go through a lot of coaches, okay? And this is something that we've talked about before on other shows. When you got to keep going through a new quarterback's coach or a new offensive coordinator or this or that, obviously it takes a toll. Now, I'm not trying to make excuses for Mayfield, okay? Because like you said, Jeremy, I mean, he was really good for the Rams when he stepped in. He did a nice job when Stafford was hurt out there. But the bottom line is, hey, he doesn't have anybody but himself. He's got to do it now on his own, so to speak, in Tampa. Okay, there's no Tom Brady around anymore. They need a first-class quarterback if they're going to contend. And I know the division is a little bit weaker, but still, I mean, he's got good tools. He's got a lot of good tools. I mean, I like the things that he brings to the table. But again, let's not forget that when you bring these guys in and they got to go through different playbooks and different coordinators, it does take a toll. That being said, hey, okay, so give them a couple of games to get things together. I did not see that, what you mentioned, Jeremy, about throwing passes in the dirt or to the ground. That's not a good sign, but hopefully it wasn't a sign that he doesn't have anything left anymore, the tank.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say about Mayfield, he gets a mulligan as far as I'm concerned for the Cleveland Browns. They went through a lot of coaches being traded over to Carolina. I don't think he had much of a chance there either. And to go to L.A. for a little brief, I think he could have been the heir apparent to Matthew Stafford had he stayed, but he wanted to play now. So I really am pulling for him. All he has to do is stay off and not worry about commercials and focusing on the playbook. If he does that, he's going to be fine. All right, I got to go through these comments in the chat room and we'll catch up there. I think everybody feels comfortable with it, that your thoughts are with Mayfield, correct?
Right.
Everybody on board? Okay. So Denzel Snipes, I'm running for prez. There you go, George. Reach out to him. He's ready to do
Hey,
all right.
he could do better than what we have. So there you go.
Yeah,
Baker's
going to. Yeah,
there
you go.
I think
Baker
he meant of George's fan club.
Yeah. Not talking about the White House.
Hey, listen,
not America.
You've been gaining.
If he wants to run for America, I think any one of us here could do better than what we've got in the White House.
Yeah, exactly.
No comment. I'm leaving that one. I don't. Hey, what you say can be held against you in the court of your public opinion, but I'm the guy running this platform, so I don't want nobody coming at me. I don't want people upset with me because I said something I wasn't supposed to say. I'm deferring.
I said it for you.
Huh?
I said it for you.
Whatever. No, you do. You're doing it for you. You ain't doing nothing for me with that. I am staying away. I'm taking the fifth. All right, I don't know. Nice try, Jeremy. Hat stays on, and I'm taking the fifth. End of story. Okay. All right, let's keep going here. This is starting to become a blast already. So, all right, Denzel Mayfield still has weapons. If he can be 2020 Mayfield, Tampa can win the division because the division is still bad. Oh, that's really true. We're probably going to get to that in a little while, so we'll sit on that one now. I think Mayfield will be the Cleveland Mayfield. Well, I guess it means then again, I think Pensman is from Pittsburgh too, so I can understand why he might make a comment on there. I think the Pittsburgh Penguins guy. So
all right, Pensman from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, you know what? He like you and Pensman get along really good, but he's big on Twitter. So Ralph, when you start getting more involved with Twitter, you'll find out who the Pensman is, and he's going to tell you. Now, when you get on here, he wants you to subscribe to his YouTube channel, and I'm going to make sure it's a requirement to keep you guys.
I'll like to do it. In fact, I'll do it.
Yeah, there you go, Pensman. There's a little throwing you a bone here from your brother out in South Florida. Okay. So with that said, okay, let's keep it rolling. All right, here we go. Mayfield does good in Tampa when he plays the Lions. Wow.
Except when he plays the Lions. Yes.
I don't know. All right. You know what? I'm not touching a lot of this. All right. I agree with George C. Alex Smith. You know what? There you go. Get it. and Denzel 2024. Beautiful stuff. Look at this guy. I love the camaraderie tonight. Awesome. And before I go any further, I just want everybody to know that Fire Up is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of Fire Up can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. We're over 900. Please, folks, okay,
help us.
Go. Let's get to 1,000 already. We're under 100. Let's take us home. Okay, please spread the word. Appreciate everybody anyways. Also, like I said, please comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? Chat room is one way to do it, for sure. And look at the activity. It's unbelievable tonight. Can only imagine as we get deeper into this thing. So also please send your topic ideas, southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me 954-304-4941. If I talk faster than the car 500 car, you're probably right, but you can also listen to the show if you want to hear it again and make sure you get it out on 2 listens instead of 1. Okay, but I'll do that deliberately to get you to do it that way. But nevertheless, it is what it is. Okay. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Also, website, www.southfloridatribune.com. Tribune South is what it takes on, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Kenny Ebling is behind the scenes, and all these guys are in front of the scenes. Benjamin, come on. Loyalty is what it is. Appreciate. Thank you. No, thank you, Benjamin, for being on the show. You've added a great dimension, and we still have 3 more topics, a couple parting shots to go. So in case you're just joining us, spread the episode here on wherever you want to find it. We have 3 more topics, and 2 people get to do a parting shot. Topic number 2. According to Yahoo Sports, ESPN analyst John McenRoe to miss the U.S. Open coverage after testing positive for COVID-19. There's nothing to laugh about with this, folks. COVID-19 back. We don't take it seriously. A lot of us could have some problems, even though we're probably a lot more heavily vaccinated. All right, Ralph, go ahead.
Yes. Were we on parting shots here, Scott? Or
no, we're not on parting shots. We're not letting you off that fast. So we're on topic number 2. Okay. So I'll repeat it back to you just so everybody can comment as well. According to Yahoo Sports, ESPN analyst John McenRoe to miss the U.S. Open coverage after testing positive for COVID-19. Tough for Johnny Mac. All right, Ralph.
Yeah, that's sad that John McenRoe has COVID. Everybody has to be serious about this, especially in the sports world. You know, you're around people and everything else. You need to get your shots. That's exactly what happened. I don't blame the tennis folks for doing this to John McenRoe at all. For testing positive for COVID and not being able to be involved in any kind of tennis matches or whatever.
Okay, Jeremy.
It's a shame, and COVID-19 has never gone away yet. You're just hearing about less cases because I heard the new strain is weaker, but it's more communicable. But it's still going to affect the older crowd the way it did before. So therefore, if you think you're sick, stay home.
Okay, fair enough. George?
Yeah, it's going to be tough to miss McenRoe. I mean, that guy's been an institution on television ever since he hung up his tennis shoes. And I'll tell you what, I look forward to his coverage of the U.S. Open. I look forward to his commentaries every year. He's a really good analyst. He's really gotten better, I think, too, over the years. So he's doing the right thing, and so is the USTA. I mean, they don't want him around. He should not be around other athletes and other people because of the fact that it is possible for him to give it to somebody else. So as hard as it is, this is like the Super Bowl for Mac. I'm sure he's not very happy about this. I know that because this is the biggie. This is the biggie. The United States' greatest tournament in tennis is this tournament at the Arthur Ashe Stadium in Flushing Meadows. So all I want to say is good luck and get healthy, John Mack, and we'll see you again next time.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say about COVID-19, it took the closest person in my life, my Aunt Judy Stroll. So, I don't think to this day I've really fully ever gotten over her passing. Way too soon, COVID-19. And when I was up in Metro Detroit when my mom was dying, think about it, my wife and I had to stay in a hotel for 2.5 weeks, taking leftovers. So it was tough. So the only thing I'll say is, Johnny Mac, hope you get back there next year. I know it's probably hard for you to miss these tournaments. You've certainly established yourself after your playing career as a dynamite announcer. So get well soon, John. You're being missed, but certainly not being, by no means, we're thinking about you. All right. Onwards we go. Max Scherzer booed by Mets and in return to New York. Anybody surprised at this one? All right, Ralph.
Oh yeah, I'm not surprised at all about that. And the Mets have been sort of average this year, but they're stepping it up. I think they may do better as the season rolls on to the closure. Buck Showalter has that. He's always been a good manager, but he needs some improvement there a little bit to get where he needs to be.
Jeremy.
Does it really surprise anybody that New York City fans boo anybody when they come back when they're with another team? No. I think they'd boo their own mom if they signed with another team.
That's a good one.
I mean, they're so salty. They hardly ever talk to each other walking down the street unless they are together. You can have 5 people walk past each other and nobody lifts an arm to say hi. Granted, because the sidewalks are so packed because you can't drive downtown.
That's interesting. Okay. All right, George.
Well, this is a really interesting situation because the way I understood it, Max Scherzer told the team and wanted to know from team ownership, where is your commitment to winning this title this year? He was questioning their desire and their moves prior to the trading deadline. So if I'm a Mets fan, you shouldn't be booing him. You should be cheering what he did. He stood up for principle. He stood up for your team and stood up against that owner, Mr. Spendthrift out there. And
Stevecohen.
Yeah, thank you. Cohen. Right. And so it's crazy, but it goes back to what Jeremy said. I mean, anybody that comes back to that city after leaving it will be booed. But I don't like this one because, like I said, he smelled a dirty rat, Scherzer, and that's why he opened his mouth and said, hey, if you're not committed, then I'm out of here too. So Justin Verlander left and he left and the whole bottom fell out. Sure, Ralph, they might play a little bit better or win a few more games the rest of the year, but they're not going anywhere. And obviously that's a terrible black mark on Cohen's face.
Yeah, the reality is we all know the New York Mets are spending money like there was no end to it. And all of a sudden they find themselves near the bottom of the division. I don't think anybody saw it coming. But
you know what, guys? I always say this about when teams spend a lot of money on players, that doesn't necessarily guarantee them to go to the World Series. These guys could get hurt, and a lot of other things could happen. Look at the Dodgers. The Dodgers had all these players last year, and they blew it. They laid an egg. So, I mean, it could happen.
Well, don't
look at all those great. Yeah, I'm sorry, Scott, but look at all those great Atlanta teams too. Bobby Cox, he won 1 World Series, 1. He may have won a dozen pennants or whatever, division titles and all that, but the Braves are another one that comes to mind because they laid an egg and never got more than 1 championship under Bobby Cox.
Yeah, but you know what? They got 1 championship. I'd be more harder on them if they got 0 for 11 instead of 1 for 11. So getting the ring certainly takes a little bit of heat off it for sure. But remember one thing about baseball compared to any other sport, you got 162 games. You're going to have injuries. You're going to have a lot more players used during the course of that period of time. And let's face the reality, I don't think everybody thought that the New York Mets were going to be great with Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer at the helm. As it turns out, they're playing in the state of Texas. And you also have to remember, too, that no state income tax. I'm going to carry on feed off of pens. Don't forget the suspensions as well. Yeah, they had a few of those, too. So Buck Showalter can only do so much at some point or another. The players have to play to their capabilities. So, you know what? I deal with Metro New Yorkers down here. They don't bother me. I really don't. I just listen what they have to do. That they are who we are. People in the Midwest are who they are, and you accept them for what they are. You take opinions, trust them the way we see fit. So I don't think anybody expected the Mets. I think a lot of people expected the Mets to be ready for postseason play, not what we experienced in 2023. Onwards we go to the final topic of the night before we go to a parting shot. NFC division winners. Our predictions. All right, you know what? We're going to start off with Ralph the Williams.
I think it's going to be the 49ers. They have a good team. Shanahan's going to have his team ready this year. And they have Brock Purdy back. So their defense is good. It's either going to, I think it's going to be the 49ers.
I'm talking about each division, so you're not getting out of it with one division, pal.
I got you. Or New York Giants, I would think. Also in the weak division, it's probably going to be Tampa Bay, unless Carolina sneaks in there with Frank Reich. We'll see.
Okay, keep going.
Let me see. I'm trying to think of who the other division is. I'm sorry about this. Mine's
all
not
NFC
clear.
and AFC, all 8 divisions.
Oh, AFC. Well, I think the AFC North. I think the Steelers might have a chance. The Bengals. We'll see what Joe Burrow does. Their offensive line is bad again. And Cleveland. I don't even care about Cleveland. I think Stefanski's on eggshells this year. And Baltimore. Let's see what happens if they have any injuries. If they sustain a lot of injuries, I think they're going to go down. But I think the Steelers might have a chance this year. I'm looking at for them 12-5.
Keep it going.
And then
Jeremy.
In the AFC South, I think I think Kansas City. We'll get it again. And Tennessee might be in there in the other AFC division there. I believe Tennessee could possibly stroll in there. They've improved their defense, and we'll see what their offense does. And I also forgot 2 guys on the NFC to mention the Eagles. The Eagles have a chance as well. We'll see what they do. Dallas don't look too bad either. We'll see what happens there with the NFC. I'm sorry to go back. But
right.
As far as the AFC goes, I think that we could see Kansas City as far as that division goes. Tennessee, and then the Steelers are for the AFC North, and then I think Miami might even have a little bit of a chance, depending on if they don't blow it in the playoff game with 1 point and a bad kick. So we'll see what happens. Jacksonville has a chance too.
Okay, so Jeremy, he was able to get all the divisions in.
He skipped one division, and
What's
they
that?
have that team that I got hanging behind me in it.
All right.
Yeah, Detroit. That's yeah. Yeah, you know what, Jeremy? Detroit might do pretty good this year with Dan Campbell. He's stockpiled some talent. I think they're going to do pretty good. He got rid of that bum bennysnell, who's a bum. He got rid of him. He was a bum here, and he's a bum there. They got Cam Sutton. Cam Sutton's a good corner. He was good with the Steelers. I think Dan Campbell might have a shot. We'll see what Detroit does this year. I really believe that to be the case. Minnesota. We'll see what Minnesota does. They were in the playoffs last year and they blew it. We'll see what happens with Kevin McDonald and that team up there.
All right, I'm going to go to the chat room real quick. Patty Grimes, my hot take: San Francisco, New York Jets, and Philadelphia failed to win the division. Okay, Patty.
New York Jets might not do too bad this year. They got Aaron Rodgers. Got him some receivers in a running game. They got Devin Cook. They got Izzy Abanikanda. We'll see.
Let's go to Pensman. George, read it.
Detroit NFC North Championship, Giants NFC East, and Atlanta NFC South.
Atlanta.
Okay. Okay. Atlanta. All right. It's okay. These opinions are great. All right. I think we got Ralph all covered, right, Jeremy?
Yep.
All right. Go
ahead.
That
was the only one he missed.
I was a little foggy.
Yep.
Don't worry about it. It's okay, Ralph. Move on. Jeremy, go ahead.
Well, I have it coming down to possibly being a tie and going to the coin flip in the NFC West, with it being Seattle and San Francisco at the top. I don't see the Rams getting back to greatness yet. They've got too many question marks on their offense as well as their defense. Then you got the Cardinals, which I think they're fighting for the Caleb Williams draft pick. And they're fighting with the team that they got the draft pick from, the Texans. So I think they end up with Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison. That being said, you got the NFC North. Minnesota lost a lot on that defense, a lot of leaders and a lot of Pro Bowlers. And I don't know if they did enough to supplement that with what they got in the draft and free agency. And then you got Detroit, of course, who upgraded their worst part of their defense, which was their secondary. When your number 1 rated PFF corner is Will Harris, you've got issues. But Chicago, they're the most upgraded team in the North, but they also were the bottom dweller last year. Will they make a rise to 9 wins like Detroit did from their 3-13 in 1 year? I don't know. There's too many question marks. Did Justin Fields learn how to read a defense in an offseason? Who knows? But and then Green Bay, we don't know what you have in Jordan Love. Yes, he looked good in preseason against 2s and 3s, but we don't know what he's going to look like against NFL starting talent. So they're going to have to be a very run-heavy team. I got the Lions winning the North. In the East, I think it's coming down to Eagles or Dallas. I don't know who's going to be 1 and who's going to be 2. In the South, I think it's Carolina because they've got a much improved defense, and I think they personally improved over Jameis Winston by getting Derek Carr. I mean, you had the first 30-30 quarterback in history, 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions as your starter. Yeesh. But anyways, okay, that's the AFC. Let's start with the West. Kansas City until someone dethrones them. In the North, I have it a 2-horse race between the Bengals and Steelers because I can't trust that the Ravens stay healthy. In the South, I think it's Jacksonville again because they improved and they looked very much improved in that preseason game. Their depth beat our depth.
Okay. Is that it?
Nope. And what was the other one I got to do yet? AFC East. Oh, yeah. I think that's a 2-horse race between the Jets and Bills with the Finns possibly being second place. Whoever loses between those two is going to be behind the Finns. As long as Tua stays healthy.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. You're all set?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, George, go ahead.
Well, the NFC East, obviously, I'm going with the Eagles. I mean, they were the class of the division last year and the conference. So I'm taking Philadelphia again in the East. In the North, for all the same reasons that Jeremy and Ralph touched on, I look for a drop of the Vikings. They lost instead of gaining extra strength. They lost their strength, and Detroit just finished with a bang, as we know last year, just barely missing out. Seattle grabbing that last wild card spot. So I'm going to go with the Lions to win the North. In the South, I'm going to go with New Orleans. I mean, it's going to be a tight race. I mean, Jeremy, you're right about Carolina. They got some good stuff going there in Atlanta, but I'm going to go with New Orleans as my favorite in the South. Over in the West, Stafford and the Rams could have another long season. Clearly, Seattle and San Francisco, to me, are the top picks out West. I'm going to go with Seattle. I'm going to say that the Seahawks are going to take that division this year. And swinging over to the AFC, well, the big news, obviously, is Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets and them being on HBO. But all that is, in check right now because they still got to dethrone Buffalo. And I'm still going to say Buffalo's got it until I see otherwise. From Miami or the Jets contending with that. New England, no way, I don't think. In the North, I'm going to go with Cincinnati over Baltimore. Cleveland and Pittsburgh, I'll be in the second tier there. I'm going to go with, I like what I see out of the Bengals again. In the AFC South, I can't go against Jacksonville. What a great job they've done. They put together a great offense, and like Jeremy said, they showed some depth when they played the Lions in the preseason. And they're also coming off of a fantastic finish last year at Jacksonville, and they won that playoff game. And out in the West, the AFC West, well, I got to give it to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. They're the Super Bowl defending champions. And until somebody can take that title away from them, they deserve to be the favorites in the AFC West. So that's what I got, Scott.
All right, I'm going to start out in the AFC East. Got to go Buffalo. I really do believe that Buffalo is way better than everybody else. Let's see how Aaron Rodgers handles the booze in New York when things go badly. It's not going to work out so well for Max Scherzer. So Buffalo easily. You know what, George? I have a feeling about Cincinnati. I don't know why. Joe Burrow's going to be ready for opening day, and they've got some pretty good offensive complementary pieces, Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon. So I'm going to ride you there with Cincinnati. South, I have to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Doug Peterson's a heck of a coach. He's such a heck of a coach. It's too bad that he had to cut his son. Made one of the final cuts, but I don't think it's going to affect their Thanksgiving dinner. I think Daddy will find a role for him somewhere. It's just not playing football this year unless he needs him later. But gotta go Jacksonville. West. That's the easiest one of the group. Torrey Harmon could be in Kansas City by the end of the year. The guy was on last week going with the Kansas City Chiefs. I should point out I have a really good following with you Chiefs fans out there. So keep supporting us. We appreciate you. But I definitely like the Chiefs. To the NFC East. You know what? I'm not going against Philadelphia. Oh, way. Yes, they lost 2 coordinators. It don't matter. They didn't lose the head coach, and they still have a heck of a quarterback. And until anybody goes out there and unseats the Eagles, I am not going against them. I'm going to go with the Lions, definitely. In the NFC North, have to. Want to believe that they made some upgrades. I think a lot of the draft choices that most people thought weren't any good are going to surprise a lot of people. And a lot of draft prognosticators are going to be eating crow. Now, Green Bay, we'll see what happens with Jordan Love. At least he won't have to be over Aaron Rodgers' shadow. You know what? I don't know why. I'm going to New Orleans as well for some reason or another. Dennis Allen was 7-10 last year. He brings in Derek Carr. And sometimes there's a feeling when coaches get a second opportunity that they make the best of it. And I have a feeling that Dennis Allen will be one of those guys that does it. In the West, I want to say San Francisco. I really do, but I'm not comfortable with it. So I'm going to go with Seattle as well. If for no other reason, I like the job Pete Carroll's doing, and he always finds diamond in roughs over in the draft. So there you have it from all 4 of us. If you're listening and you didn't get it the first time, feel free to re-listen to the show. You'll get it, and then we'd like to have our report card, whether we're right, wrong, or you don't want to ever trust us again for predictions. If you don't trust us for predictions, we'll never take it personally because I like to see how many people in the NFL ever get it right anyways and see what their early Super Bowl excitement turns out when it comes down to the following calendar year. Beautiful stuff. All right. With that said, we really appreciate the involvement in the chat room. So I'll just mention this one more time. I won't mention it again. I just want everybody to know that Fire Up is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of Fire Up can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers, surpass the 900 mark. Looking to finish the job. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Go inside the chat room. We're more than happy to have you out there. Some great comments tonight. Much appreciated. Please send your topic ideas, South Florida Tribune at gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Website, www.southfloridatribune.com. Twitter, at Tribune South. X, whatever you want to call it. Candy Ebling is behind the scenes. Of course, she did a wonderful job producing Pun and Spun It when we let it off. All right, we go to this point in the broadcast where we're going to have parting shots. George and I have decided to defer against them. So what we're going to do is we're going to let Jeremy have his parting shot first, okay?
Kudos to Bradholmes for trading away and getting draft capital for Tyhockensen, who just reset the tight end market as the highest paid tight end in the NFL at $17.1 million per year, with 62% of his salary fully guaranteed over a 4-year span. I mean, good for TJ that he got paid, but if he'd have been exactly what Detroit drafted him for, guess what? He'd have got that money here. But the fact that he's bottom 5 blocking talent and top 10 receiving talent as a tight end makes him about a 15 to 20 tier tight end in the league as a starter.
And bear in mind, University of Iowa football, they produce tight ends. I think they're considered a tight end factory as well. So I like that one, Jeremy. All right, Ralph, your parting shot.
My parting shot is I'm glad that some of these guys who play for the Steelers are on other teams and get cut. Artie Burns has got cut again. Now he's from Seattle. And then Benny Snell, I call him Smell because he stinks, got cut by the Detroit Lions. And, and devinbush barely made Seattle's team. The only reason he made it was because one of their linebackers got hurt, and they had to move him in there. He was about to get cut. So I'm glad that some of these teams are finally seeing what the Steelers saw in these guys. and it was sad that we had to put up with them. Out of the three of them, two of them were number one draft picks. Artie Burns was a number one draft pick, and so was Devinbush. And neither one of them produced. Neither did bennysnell. So I'm glad they're all gone, and I'm glad. And I wish Cam Hayward, or Cam Sutton, a lot of good fortune up there in Detroit. He's a great cornerback and a good character guy too. So that is my parting shot.
Very good. Also, I just want to point out on Saturday morning, 9:30 Eastern time,
yes,
we have the
external
pump show, and that's with myself, you, Mark Mancini, and I believe Joe Kuklitz joins us on there as well.
Exactly.
It's fastest 30 minutes on Mancini Media that you're going to see. So feel free to go. I mean, it is fast. Ralph certainly has a lot of advertisers, and he makes sure that they get their time for sure. If there's anybody definitely gets their time, it's Ralph. I just wish he can speed through the advertisers as fast as I go through some of these promos. Just with you.
I try to spread them out now on that half-hour show. Do a portion.
I'm not busting your chops. I just know that I talk way faster than you. I have to somehow infuse that speed inside of you so that we can get another 2-3 minutes. I'm just kidding with you, Ralph. We do that because we all care.
I could fix it.
Yeah, it's all fun. No, it's a good show. I've enjoyed being on it. I really do. I mean, we go through the topics really fast. So I want to go out there, check us out. You can also I'll preview it on my profile on Facebook, and we have a good time. We go through it real quick, and I look forward to doing it every Saturday. So just to let everybody know what my schedule is ahead the next couple of days. Tomorrow night over at Hard Rock Stadium, I have the Miami Hurricanes taking on the Miami of Ohio. Is it Hawks or Red Hawks?
I think it's the Red Hawks.
Yeah, Red Hawks. I believe Ben Roethlisberger graduated from there, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, he did.
And then, of course, on Saturday night, Florida Atlantic University takes on Monmouth and the debut of Tom Herman. So I think Tom Herman's going to do a great job there. And mariocristobal.
Tom Herman's a good coach. Yes,
he is. I think you should be thankful that they have him.
Yes.
And I can't tell you how much admiration I have for to me, mariocristobal. This guy's going to do some unbelievable things, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to work with both of those first-class coaches. They're unbelievable, and I want to thank Katrina McCormack of Florida Atlantic University, who's been a great person to work with, and Cameron Gorby for Miami. You can't ask for a whole lot better PR people to work with than them. So with that said, Ralph, why don't you let everybody know how they can get a hold of you?
RWmedia.org, www.rwmedia.org, Ralph Williams 737 at gmail.com, Facebook, LinkedIn, and X platforms. And I have my own YouTube channel.
Very good. Okay, Jeremy, go ahead.
Well, as you can see, I have my X handle right on here at Smokin' Jeremy B, which has been my nickname ever since I got into this podcasting thing. That being said, you can find my writings on SouthFloridaTribune.com under the Motor City Tribune heading, underneath authors such as Scott Morganroth and this guy next to me here who wrote a book. George Eichhorn. I'm reading it right now. It's actually a good read. Got lots of pictures too, so the pages go real fast. So I think I'm halfway through, only spending 10 minutes a night. But that being said, you can also find me on my channel on YouTube, which is Kneecap Biting with the Detroit Lions, where I do my NFL roundtable talks with pick'ems throughout the season on Wednesdays. And then you also have my Lions Fan Cave chat on Fridays, post-game shows, depending on which night the game is on, and various other platforms throughout YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. You'll see my face everywhere.
All right, go back to the chat room for a turn with George. Thanks, Pensman, for your opinion. Red Hawks and Ben Roethlisberger. Pensman did a good job confirming what we already suspected we knew. All right, George, go ahead.
And thank you, Jeremy and Scott, for being part of my success of my book, Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air. It's still available. And as Jeremy mentioned, I write for the South Florida Tribune, as he does, under the Motor City Tribune. And there'll be a link at the end of my column to order yourself a copy of the book. And you find your way over to the Amazon site or whoever is managing that link. But you can find me too on Inside the Pigskin, 108 Stitches, the Sports Exchange, and obviously Fire Up. Really appreciate Pundit's Pundit. It's been a great group of people that I've met all you great guys on there, you know, Jeremy, Ralph. I mean, there's so much talent. It's really fun working with everybody on the platform, and Scott and Candy do a great job, of course, as the JB Ellis. You can reach me at yahoo.com. So gicorn@yahoo.com, or LinkedIn. It's my full name. And also you can read me locally in the Downtown Monitor newspaper.
Yeah, the one thing I'm really trying hard to do during the week, especially with my schedule being what it is I'm trying as hard as I can to go ahead and double up a lot of different things. So yeah, and of course, Jeremy Ballreek, I like when he comes up with his closing line, so we'll let him do that. So the one thing I'm trying to do, though, is make sure we have back-to-back shows, double headers, as often as I'm able to do it. Thursday night, I really like the lineup when you have pundits leading into fire. All right, so we'll let Jeremy wrap it up with his closing line, and I want to, before he gets his closing line, I want to make sure everybody has a great Labor Day weekend, and we'll look forward to the next episode, but I'll close it after Jeremy finishes final thought. Go ahead.
I just want to tell everybody in the chat and those watching at home and around the world, try every day to be a better person than you were the day before, because that's the only way to make the world a better place. It starts within here.
Well done. Okay, I like that message. Very positive, very upbeat. With that said, on behalf of Ralph Williams, Jeremy Ballreek, George Eichhorn, my name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Fire Up, and we will catch you the next time. Good night, everybody.